What's up, y'all? It's your girl T. Louise, and you are tuned in to Twisted 20s. Today's podcast episode is sponsored by my company, The Major Comeback, where we specialize in apparel dedicated to reminding God's people of their purpose. And you can check out some of our merch at themajorcomeback.com. All right, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Twisted 20s. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you to every single individual that has been listening and supporting Twisted 20s. I truly, truly, truly appreciate and I love you. Last week, I told you guys that I would be working on getting a personal email for Twisted 20s. So that email is up and running. You guys can send me emails at submissions@twisted20s.org. Y'all, was so sad because .com was taken, but God told me to go on and go with .org, because Twisted 20s is going to be so much bigger than just a podcast. So you guys can email me at submissions@twisted20s.org. Today's podcast is coming in hot. You guys know I love to talk about my episodes are always geared around things I've gone through or that I'm currently going through. And one of the things I have struggled with in the past couple weeks is definitely submitting and surrendering to God's will. So with that being said, we are going to go ahead and get into today's podcast episode. So, welcome back to Twisted 20s. So, I found it so important for me to do this podcast episode because it's something that I have been dealing with in the past, I'll say about the past 3 or 4 weeks or so. But God has really been revealing and renewing my mind when it comes to this. But I wanted to talk about this because oftentimes we get frustrated with God when he interrupts our plans. And today God revealed to me that the reason why he interrupts our plans is one of two things. We're planning without him, or we don't understand that his will is always better. And sometimes when we're planning without him, we don't understand that his will is always better. Speaking from experience, I'll use this as an example. I was working for Bath and Body Works. I was doing a seasonal position with them that, I was really praying and asking God to, God, please let this, turn into a full-time position. And, when it didn't end up turning to a full-time position and the season was over, I felt devastated. I was like, okay, God, well, what's next? What now? And so I just started making plans. I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to start applying for this job. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then things didn't start happening. So then I got to a point and I said, okay, God, what is it that you need me to be doing? Because at this point, I'm not feeling like I'm fulfilled. I'm not feeling like I'm living up to my purpose. So what is it that you need me to be doing? What is your will for my life? He did not answer me right in that moment. But over a course of 2 weeks, he started showing me like little nuggets. I went and I visited a full out podcast studio space that was just gorgeous. Like, I am trusting and I am still believing that God is going to supply the money that I need to get a membership there. Like, there is no doubt in my mind that God is not going to allow me to be placed in rooms. And there's no doubt in my mind that God has had me to meet the people that I've met for a reason. I lost my train of thought, y'all. God has been so good to me over the course of these couple weeks and just been revealing so much to me. And I'm telling you guys this story about what I've been going through because I want you to understand that when you make plans without God, you are ignoring him. It is so easy for us to ignore him and his will. But what we fail to realize in that moment of ignorance and ignoring him is that it is fatal to our destiny and our purpose. when God revealed to me that he wanted me to do content creation full time, when he revealed to me that he wanted me to relaunch the Major Comeback, I was very hesitant. I had a fire in me at first, and then I literally talked myself out of it, and I started back looking for jobs. And I was putting in application after application after application, and I kept getting denied. And I kept saying, okay, God, like, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing? And God told me, he was like, what are you talking about? I've already showed you what I need you to be doing. But I was so focused on planning on how to pay my bills. I was planning on how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to do that. And I had everything all mapped out. I was like, oh, if I get this job, when I would have an interview, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to get this job. This $17 an hour. I would start, like, I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one. As soon as you get hired on the job and they be like, you're going to get paid $15 an hour. I know I'm not the only one to start calculating how many hours and how much I'm going to get paid if I work 40 hours and if I work overtime. Like, that's the type of planning I was doing. Like, they ain't even said we hiring you. I'm just already calculating and planning. Like, if I get the job, this is what I'm going to do. Like, not even realizing that I'm being disobedient and I'm ignoring what God has been telling me. So God interrupted my plans. And I feel like God interrupted my plans because I was planning without him. And also because I didn't believe that his will was going to be better for me. I didn't believe that his will could come into fruition if that's the case. Like, I always knew that the plan that God had for me is something great. But I didn't have the faith and the trust in him that I needed to believe that it would come into fruition. And so that's why it was so much easier for me to ignore him and ignore his will. But that's why I say that it's easier for us to ignore, but it's fatal to our destiny and it's fatal to our purpose. And so I had to get to this point where I said, okay, God, your will, not mine. I'm surrendering everything. I'm giving it all to you. Whatever you need me to do, I'm going to do. And so that's why I'm starting Twisted 20s back up. That's why I relaunched the Major Comeback. That's why I'm trying to figure out what is it that God needs me to create. Literally, y'all, I asked God this. He told me, he said, the reason why you are struggling is because you are trying to operate in CEO status. Not saying that I will not be a CEO, but we have to understand that God is the CEO and we are the manager. God is in charge. When God gives us a vision, when God gives us a business idea, when God gives us any type of idea or anything that he's showing us, we have to understand that he has the full map road to success. Like, he has the whole map. We cannot take an idea, run with it, and turn it into our own without consulting the person that gave it to us. Like, it's just not possible. And I was doing that. Another example I will give y'all. When I first started the Major Comeback, I got the idea for the Major Comeback after my mom passed. I didn't know what I wanted the Major Comeback to be. I didn't know what it was supposed to be. So at the time I said, okay, I'll turn it into a plus size t-shirt brand. And I'm not saying that it failed, but it wasn't successful in the aspect that I thought it would have been. And that was because it was not the plan and the will that God had for it. And I had to literally stop. I closed that business. I think I closed the Major Comeback in 2021. So mind you, now I only had the business open a year and I closed it in 2021. It became overwhelming. It became frustrating because I wasn't passionate about it. I lost my passion for running a business and I just did not want to do it. I became lazy. I felt like I wasn't, it just wasn't what it was supposed to be. And that was because that wasn't the plan that God had for the brand. But I say all that to say is even in that midst of disobedience, even in the midst of me ignoring God, you don't think God knew I was going to do all that? God uses our disobedience. He uses our defiancy. He uses us ignoring him as a lesson, because really and truly, if I could do it all over again, I would do it the same way, because I've learned so much from those mistakes. I've learned so much from not consulting God. God will interrupt your plan. He will interrupt whatever you got going on so that you can focus in on Him and following His will. And the hard part about it is, I think is why we make it so hard, is that we try to fight against it. We try to fight His will, or we try to make His will or our will be His will. But whether you want to realize it or not, is God is not the type of God that's like, okay, your will, not mine. It's His will, His say, it goes. It's no negotiating. It's no forcing Him. It's none of that. And my mentor at church, she tells me this all the time, because I talk to her every Monday and Friday, and we have real conversations. And she tells me this all the time, that God is absolutely good. Everything surrounding God is good. And I think about that so much, because it's like, I'm over here fighting Him to keep up with my minimized, simple plan. And God is like, I have greater for you. I have greater for you. I have millionaire status for you. I have billionaire status for you. I have a mansion for you. I have a better car for you. I have a better position for you. And you're over here chasing scraps. And God is like, and you're making plans to really chase these scraps. And God is like, I have so much more for you. But you will not surrender to my will and my plan for your life. Today, our pastor in church said, you guys are listening to this on Monday, but I always record my podcast episodes on Saturdays or Sundays. Our pastor today at church, he said something to me, well, not to me, but in his sermon today, that just resonated with me. A few things he said today. He said, greatness is born out of affliction. And when I thought about that, it's like, even when we're outside of God's will, we experience affliction. But when we are inside of God's will, we still experience affliction. We still experience suffering. We still experience all types of struggles and things that come against us. But literally, when he said that today, I was like, wow. It's like, there is no greatness without struggle. Like, you have to struggle. You're going to struggle. You're going to struggle to surrender sometimes. You're going to struggle to follow His will sometimes. You're going to struggle to not ignore God sometimes. You're going to struggle to not plan without God sometimes. You are going to struggle. But it's the perseverance. It's the continuance of wanting to include God. It's the continuance of wanting to surrender your will. It's the continuance of wanting to surrender to His plan and His will for your life that helps to birth that greatness. Another thing he said today is, he said, you cannot be a child of destiny and not experience pain in your life. Y'all, I have experienced so much pain in my life. Losing my mom was by far the hardest thing that I experienced. And I'm only 24, getting ready to be 25. I know I haven't lived as long as most people, but in 24 years of life, I've experienced a lot of affliction, a lot of suffering, a lot of things that have come up against me. And losing my mom was just like the tip of the iceberg. Boy, when I lost my mom, I thought I had really lost myself. But God found me in my darkest moments. God interrupted my life. And I'm not saying that I got it all together, because I don't. I really and truly don't. I'm still trying to get it together. But I know that I am a child of destiny because I have experienced pain. I have experienced that affliction. I have experienced suffering. But I'm also at the point where I'm like, your will, God, not mine. Whenever I'm praying and I'm talking to God about things, I'm like, God, if it's your will, not mine. Because I don't ever want to put my will before His. I want to always let him know that I'm surrendering to his will. So remember this, God will interrupt your plans if you are planning without him. And if you are not, how can I say this? If you don't think that God's will is better for you and you're chasing scraps, I need you to stop doing that. And this is coming from somebody who, I'm not saying I saw myself, as a bottom feeder. But I will say that when you come from struggle, sometimes it's hard to see your way out of that. I remember when me and my mama were homeless, sleeping in our car, I thought that was it. I thought that's where we were going to be. I couldn't see myself anywhere else but in that car being homeless. That's the only place I could see myself. But then after my mom passed, I started getting little glimpses. I started seeing myself differently. I started seeing myself as an entrepreneur. I started seeing myself traveling the world internationally. And God allowed me to see and travel to certain places so that he could still remind me of, that's where you may have been, but that's not where you're going to stay. So sometimes God interrupts our plans because we're planning too small. And he wants us to understand that I have better. I have bigger. I have a bigger vision for your life. I have a bigger plan for you. We have to stop planning without God because he is the CEO and we are the manager. Or I guess you could say we the COO. If you want to be, feel like you that man, if you want to feel like you that, you want to feel like you a boss, I'm not a manager, I'm a COO, and he's the CEO. But I say all that to say, y'all, like, for real, like, y'all have to stop ignoring God. Stop ignoring what he has for you, because it's not just fatal to your destiny and your purpose. I've said this before in my previous episodes about purpose. Our purpose is always connected to someone else. Someone else is waiting on you to start that book, to start that YouTube channel, to start that podcast, to start that clothing brand. Someone else is waiting on you to become that doctor, to become that lawyer, to become that politician. Like, it is so much that God has to do in this world, and he needs his people in their assigned places. And if you don't understand and you don't know and you're curious about, God, what do you need me to do? What is my purpose? Ask him. Because at some point in your life, God is going to interrupt your plans. And when he interrupts your plans, it's not because he doesn't love you. It's not because he's mean. It's not because he's angry with you. It's simply because God has better for you. And he wants you to understand that what I have for you, my will for you, my purpose for you, my plan for you is way better than what you are planning. So that's my podcast episode for today, y'all. Before I head out, I wanted to let you guys know that the Twisted 20s website is up. You guys can contact me through the website. And you also can email me personally at submissions, and that's SUBMISSIONS at twisted20s.org. And you guys can check out my website at twisted20s.org. I will be writing blogs. You guys will be able to watch my live interviews there. I think I said it on the last episode that my live interviews will not be posted on MP3 format. So you will only be able to watch my interviews on the website or on my YouTube channel, which is I Am T Louise. So you guys can find all my live interviews there. I will be posting my first live interview on Friday at 9 a.m. just the same time as my podcast episodes. This week's live interview will be with a young lady who's going to be teaching us how to make a bag running ads for our business. So my live interviews will be a mixture of a lot of things. Investing in yourself, how to level up your business, how to start a business. I'll be doing live interviews with testimonies with different artists and things like that. Like I said, I have a lot in store for Twisted 20s. God is definitely working. I am definitely listening, and I am definitely trying to surrender and be submissive to his will. So like I said, you guys feel free to email me any feedback, anything you guys want to tell me, anything you guys would like me to share on the show, or if you guys just want to give me any reviews, or you guys would like to give me some topics to talk about on my show, just in case I ain't got something going on in my life at the moment, which is very rarely that I don't have something going on, but I'm always looking for new things to talk about on my show. But I love you guys. I am so thankful and so grateful for each and every single one of you guys. And with that being said, y'all, peace, love, and blessings. T. Louise.